one of my previous favorites, Alexander Wolf, is back in the news videos. But, like I mentioned earlier, we got something to talk about with GCW as a top star is returning to the company during WrestleMania weekend for Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, which is going to be one of the biggest events during WrestleMania weekend, not counting, of course, WrestleMania. But that is later today in the news video. First, we got an update on one of the reports from yesterday about about NXT talent during indie events or sporadic indie events, and it does seem like Ivy Nile going to Reality of Wrestling for now is going to be a one-off. Is it possible that, like I said yesterday, is it possible that Shawn Michaels just has not been told of the policy change? Yes. Is it unlikely that Shawn Michaels has not been told of the policy change? Also, yes. So I guess it is something that we just have to chalk up to it being a one and done. As I finally figured out who Ivy Nile is. Ivy Nile is the member of the Diamond Mine alongside the Creed brothers. I do apologize that that it took me this long to realize that. But Ivy Nile is set to make her Reality Wrestling debut, I believe, this Saturday, February the 11th, as a favor to Booker T. And also, this Saturday, February the 11th, is NWA's next pay-per-view, Nuff Said, and it's to be headlined by Matt Cardona and Tyrus for the NWA World Championship. Sweet Charlotte is the title that Matt Cardona never lost when he got injured last year and had to vacate the NWA title. And many thought that last November, when Tyrus, Trevor Murdoch, and Matt Cardona were in a triple threat match at Hard Times 3, that Matt Cardona would be the one to walk away with the NWA Championship. And a lot of people were surprised and most were disappointed when Tyrus was the one to walk away with the belt. But maybe the contract situation with Matt Cardona was the reason why why Billy Corgan chose to have Tyrus win the belt and not Matt Cardona. But also, maybe it was just the fact that he wanted to keep people guessing. He didn't want people to just expect Cardona was going to win. So he went the opposite way and put it on Tyrus. But I will give you more of an update on that as the stipulation for Cardona versus Tyrus at NWA Nuff Said is set to be decided on this week's episode of NWA Power, which is set to take place on February the 7th. As Tyrus and Matt Cardona are captaining their respective sides of a 6-man tag team match, and the winning team will decide the stipulation for NWA Enough Said. So we will talk about that later this week, but also we have to talk about an update on contracts that maybe not many people are talking about, and the contract that not many people are talking about is the contract of Double A Arn Anderson and his son Brock. I know Brock Anderson is somebody that nobody talks about because, after being spotlighted for a time, Brock was, thrown to the wolves and really forgotten about. But Arn Anderson went on record to say that Brock, I believe his contract is up in May, and then Arn's contract still has a year left on it, and he said on his podcast that he will stay with AEW as long as they want him, but he will take this opportunity to keep helping Brock any way he possibly can. Basically, Brock has now been teaming with Brian Pillman Jr. as two second-generation stars, as I believe Arn Anderson said. The two are two second-generation stars struggling to find proper footing in AEW, And teaming together just seemed like the best way for the both of them to find their footing. But I wish nothing but the best to Brock and Double A, as I am a huge fan of Double A Arn Anderson, always have been, always will be, and wish nothing. I admire the fact that he wants to do what he can to help his son find his footing in the wild world of professional wrestling, as I do think Brock does have talent, but just may not be able to find it in AEW and may have to walk away from AEW and find it elsewhere and then return to AEW when he finds his potential. Because finding your potential on a national scale ain't the easiest thing in the world, especially when you're under your father's shadow. Speaking of NXT Vengeance Day, though, as we jump back for a second to the opening news story, and not about but more about NXT, as Dijak suffered a nasty injury, and if you're not for the faint at heart, do not look at the pictures that are out and about Dijak's injury, as he sprained or dislocated his finger, legitimately dislocated his finger during his match with Wes Lee, and he showed it off in pictures on social media after the fact. But Shawn Michaels went on record after saying that the finger was not broken, it was just dislocated, more than likely. But props to, well, I mean, honestly, props to Dijak for having a high pain tolerance, in my opinion. You know, that's basically all I gotta say, because it's like they said in the Cultaholic video, I would be crying like a baby if that was my finger. But that's why I'm not in WWE, and I'm sitting here playing WWE 2K, telling you about the news about WWE. But a policy change. But now, as we move to something else, as we move to the last news story, the one that I've been hyping up for the last two news videos, a policy change took Jon Moxley away from GCW last year. And I'm not saying that that's going to change this year, but something changed because Mox was pulled from all future GCW events and indie events. As I mean, look at where Jon was this time. Look at where Jon was. He was the leader of AEW last year, holding the championship multiple times, and basically being the person who brought stability back to the company during AEW's time of most instability. I mean, that's likely the reason why Tony Khan pulled him. But fact of the matter is, Jon Moxley has been added to Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 9. It is the 5th time that Mox will be appearing on the WrestleMania weekend fixture, and will be returning to GCW, as he has not been back to GCW since he dropped the title to Nick Gage last year. And many people thought, many people expected that Mox would be gone, or thought that Mox may be gone for good from GCW. But the fact of the matter is, I think I said it at the time, and I'm not tooting my own horn here, but I said it at the time, it's very likely that it could be something that could be readdressed in the future, and it does seem like that it was something that was readdressed in the future. Now, it is not for certain that Mox will be back permanently, but at least for right now, Mox is returning to GCW over WrestleMania weekend, which is going to be with Kota Ibushi, Mox, and a number of others featured on the event. It's set to be a spectacular event over WrestleMania weekend, and it gives fans another thing to look forward to. And also, I just want to mention that apparently Darby Allin is also been given time off from AEW, as that is one of the reasons why Darby dropped the belt back to Samoa Joe last week on Dynamite. he dropped the TNT title back to Samoa Joe, setting up a likely feud between Joe and Wardlow over the TNT title, but it's going to be a little bit before Darby said Darby's back at AEW, as Darby Allin was given a vacation to do some outside projects and to just heal up and get some time away from AEW, which this is something that I said last year would be good for Darby Allin, or I've been saying for a couple of weeks that it would be good for Darby to get some time away from TV, as he has just been bouncing around doing whatever. And I think maybe, just maybe, one of the founding members of AEW, as Darby was on the first Dynamite, I think it would be good for him to be away for a little bit of time. But with that being said, I will see you in the next news video, as we are out of news for the day. Well, I guess that means I will see you tomorrow. So with that, goodbye for now.